Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. Each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry. Today we're joined by Sherry Zhang, who is founder at GenoPalate. Sherry, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Barry. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. How are you doing today?
I'm very well and very happy. How about you?
Yeah, same. Much better for having you here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with us. So first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the company that you work at?
So I grew up in northern China and is a very curious kid and came here for my graduate school education. Went to Marquette University, a beautiful lakefront of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Cold place, very lovely place. Literally fell in love with the school program and the people and personal life and everything. So live here for 2 decades now and studied obesity genetics after I graduated from Marquette with a PhD in molecular biology. So I'm a molecular geneticist, to be precise. Studied human genome for it's a very exciting time. And when I joined the force at the Medical College of Wisconsin, which happened to house one of the best family-based genetic and obesity metabolic syndrome research programs. Several decades of work, well supported by the NIH and other funding agencies. And we published some of the frontier works, including the ones that came from my independent study later. So I spent a lot of time doing that. If you ask me who I am today, I would say I'm a scientist turned entrepreneur. So after I developed my study program and research for obesity and metabolic syndrome using genomics technology, which I'm so sure we'll dive into all the fascinating aspects today on the tech side, I decided to actually come out of academic environment, which I absolutely love. To deliver a direct access for everybody, you and me included, to access our genomic health information and then drive the health success through food is medicine, so nutrition and lifestyle changes and whatnot. My observation when I was studying obesity genomics is, as you know, this is a global issue affecting so many of our current lives and our next generation. It's a big problem. And I do believe everybody has a genome. Now we know so much about it and started to really learning how do we utilize to inform better, health decisions. So I believe I have a big solution. And so switched gear to kind of where I was brought on this conversation is I started this company now become a Nutrigenomics leading platform in the US called GenoPalate. So it's our genome and linking with deliciousness and palatability of flavor of life, so to speak. That's kind of the origin of the name. I've been I'm the founder, and then with a group of brilliant and hardworking, kind people, we managed to grow the platform from an idea of mine to today's leading platform where we service more than 170,000 lives, 100% in the US market, but we have a lot of interest to take this to global markets as well. Obviously, it's a universal tool. We are a comprehensive platform for nutrition, but focused on the precision side, informed by your genomic DNA and go beyond. So we have a genotypic database to help us to gain the understanding of the individual, and all the way to phenotypic, what kind of health outcomes and what kind of behaviors are going to help the individual to become more successful for whatever their health quest is. So it's a little long-winded answer, but that's kind of where I came from and why I'm here.
It's very informative. Thank you for sharing that with me. Was being an entrepreneur something that you always knew you were going to be, or did it kind of just happen by chance?
Yeah, how I see everything I do is a way to solve a problem. I see, right? Doesn't really matter. It's a academic research project and or a business that can serve consumers or businesses with a product and offer. Obviously there's always business model around it, but it's business. But at the core, for as far as my businesses are always about delivering that value through technology. That's the only way I know that the world is not still equipped with, right? So that's filling a gap, filling a missing blank, fill it out and fill it in, and then solve a problem. And then specific problems, as you probably can hear from my narrative, is always about life, knowledge, truth, and people's health and people's happiness. So I think my company have several startups experiences, and GenoPalate is my life devotion and will continue being so. But it's always about life sciences and solve a health problem with what we know.
What makes you stand out from the competition? Do you have competition?
Oh, we have a lot of competition. Obviously, healthcare or wellness based proactive healthcare is a big problem, right? Big market as well. So naturally and fortunately, so many bright founders and technologists and investors are investing in this field to. Yes, it's they want their return on their investment naturally, but also we're solving as a whole alliance, so to speak. Even some are a friend of me, some are enemies, and it's all good. That's how we check on each other, become better, right? So I always see competition is a good challenge, as long as you play by the book and play by the rules, and so we welcome that. And so yeah, it's we have $1 trillion healthcare big bill, right, every year, and lots of them. So where we are tackling in is the dietary related or broadly lifestyle related chronic diseases that can be reversed. And that's actually 95% of the total chronic diseases. And we'll probably dive into this and for the future direction and the field and myself is how do we not only increase people's health lifespan, right? Your calendar years and live until 90, 100, and hopefully more. But more importantly, how do we utilize what we have, which is a lot, to drive the increasing of your health span, of your lifespan, right? So the disease-free time of each life is really is what I am devoted to work for.
And could you just outline some of your primary focal points and ongoing projects at the moment?
Yeah, so at GenoPalate, we have a lot of build up, and then we want to leverage the foundation, the concrete foundation we have strived to establish over the past 7 years or so. We're celebrating 8th year very soon. So on top of that, I think people need more personalized, practical, contextualized advice, right? Through food and nutrition, which is not only daily, it's hourly, right? It's every day, multiple times. And that's why we believe that's the best medicine. Food is a medicine, right? It's better than anything else you have to we have to artificially produce in high dose, and you have to take it to your body. I mean, there's a lot of medicine you just have to use, that's fine, but on the preventative care side, we have to we should turn to food and beverage, and what do we drink, when do we drink, how do we eat to really help us stay healthy. before the onset of all those, chronic diseases happen. So that's kind of what we are focusing on. How do we go deeper for not only the individual, because we're in this sector of personalized nutrition with high tech behind the recommendations such as genomics and beyond. But when you look at the populational data, you see something else than you don't see by looking at one person's deep data or shallow data, right? So there's a power of the aggregate data set we can take and learn from, and then eventually inform more mass production centered operations, so that not only you, but your family, your networks, your society, communities, governments, driven efforts can be more successful for public health.
So I was reading recently, since the 1990s, like inflammatory conditions and chronic illnesses related to like poor health are becoming more and more common, increasingly common. Is your program able to help alleviate with some of those things, or is it something unrelated and just general daily health that your company is more concerned with?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of both, right? We focus on overall optimal health. And again, preventative care is exactly the driver for that. But we have, because what we do is very specific, accurate on your genetic biomarkers that we interrogate over the years. So we can pick up a lot of signals that reflect the foundational you're born with, right? We're not picking up the variables, the gene expression yet, but a lot of them are being reflected by your phenotypes. But from the genetic biomarkers perspective, we will be able to find a surrogate to tell you have more higher tendency to develop certain sensitivities, right? So that could put you at a risk to develop autoimmune or gluten sensitivities and such symptoms. So by knowing that, it will be very helpful for that person to tailor a useful, effective health plan with food.
And in the data that you're accumulating, are you seeing like these kind of issues become increasingly more prevalent? Do you see the future as getting worse in terms of the health of the general population, or getting better?
It's not getting better. Unfortunately, if you're talking about, again, dietary related, right? We're talking about, from obesity to hypertension and all the metabolic syndrome conditions, there's way too many cases, undiagnosed pre-diabetics, for example, right? And it's in the 90s million range, which is almost one third of our population, which is really, really alarming. And then again, the majority of them are still being undiagnosed, but 95% of them, or similar to that proportion of the population, can be reversed by proper nutrition and lifestyle intervention, right? So that's kind of where we're focusing on. How do we stop this acceleration of poor lifestyle choices? But a lot of time, it just, how I see that as a geneticist, is our gene pool needs more time. We're talking about hundreds of generations to let a new mutation to sit in when we know it's a beneficial or usually beneficial SNPs, biomarkers mutations genetically will be settled in and passed down to your next generations. But this new sedentary lifestyle in front of a computer all the time and not enough activities, but too much abundance of great, delicious food, filled with sodium, sugar, fats, and it's so tempting all the time, right? So this new environment artificially created by, it's a good thing. We can mass produce so many different things and distribute them brilliantly. But this is a new problem. It's a new challenge to our biological system, right? So we didn't have time to adapt to it and probably we would never want to adapt to this, right? So that's how kind of I see from an evolutionary perspective. And so I always say there's no bad genes. People say, oh, I'm born with bad genes. I drink water, I'm going to develop, obesity. I said, no, you're fine. You're beautiful. You're unique. You should celebrate every day. You're doing good things for your life. And there's no bad genes, but there is bad situation. And we are responsible for creating that. And I think it's our duty and our responsibilities to, especially for innovators, to help solve that.
So we've talked a bit about the science behind the company. Let's talk a bit about the technology. So what kind of trends are currently catching your attention within the industry, and what are the driving factors behind the significance?
Our science that drives the power, the technology and service at GenoPalate is called Nutrigenomics. Nutrigenomics is a niched genetic discipline that focusing on what kind of genetic backgrounds everybody has. So between you and me, we'll have probably differ by 3 million of those ATGC letters, nucleotides, in the two genomes that we share, and we also differ, right? That makes you look, walk, right, and eat and express very beautifully different from me. So that's kind of really at the core what we capture. We don't need to characterize all the 3 million differences between you and me. We focus on the handful, where we're talking about hundreds to thousands range of naturally happen mutations throughout your evolution. Usually it's because the food environment, living environment that your ancestors were exposed to in a different combination to mine, right? That's kind of the, my background a little bit. I grew up in northern China. For example, the food environment there for thousands of years that my ancestors lived in would be rice. Judging by the face value here, assuming you have some Caucasian Northern European gene pool, and in your background, based on our history that we know, your ancestors developed a very cool farming technique, cattle farming. And because of that, your ancestors probably developed a new mutation that helped them to tolerate the sugar in milk, which gives you 70% of more calories than if people from my ancestors won't have that because they're never exposed to that, right? So my gene pool kept, and now I'm knowing for sure because I typed with GenoPalate's technology. That's the first thing I tested because I have some issues with, the dietary and all that. I live in Wisconsin, by the way. It's a lot of temptations. And I also searched for texted my son for those. Those are confirmed. As you can see from this case, there's hundreds of those different mutations and gene stories, we call it, that we could learn very well now by testing your genomic DNA using our technology, which is a swab-based home test, so no blood involved, very easy, very accessible test. And then our lab will interrogate right now is over 150 biomarkers. So what I talk about is one, just imagine 150 of them. And in our big brain of GenoPalate, and we analyze that using our proprietary algorithm, generating the big data. And then on top of that, we have nutritional science, metabolic medicine to give people a practical, useful plan to go about every day. At the end of the day, science is very great, knowledge is king, but what do I do as a person? What do I eat? How do I live, right? So we are trying to strike for both the depth of the technology and science and also the easiness and easy accessibility for the knowledge. Going forward, it's really everyone has a journey. Health is a story. It's never ending, hopefully. And when people come here, they either have some issues already, or they want to prevent those issues that food and nutrition can help solve. So we kind of tackling both from, easy fix and daily interventional after we know about your genetics, and then all the way to preventative care through food as medicine. I can maybe in a separate small talk, I can get into kind of the future I see the field is going, and also kind of my personal interest. But that's really what we're trying to build upon the great relationship and the knowledge with the individuals, looking at the populational, statistics to keep informing that process, and then elongate this journey-based, customer journey-based plan, so we could help a person to have a lifetime, smart plan for living healthy.
So you mentioned there about looking to the future and your own personal like kind of prediction of what will happen. Please share that with us. We'd be very interested to hear it.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm personally, and also always for my creation at GenoPalate, it's always personal mission and passion. And then, what I believe, what I try, what I use inform the customers, service programs and so on. So my personal drive today is continue to search for, we talk about this, how do we elongate the health span inside of, this great medicine, elevated lifespan overall, right? So for the last 100 years, the average, this is applied to globally, for taking U.S. as one example, the U.S. average lifespan doubled from 40-some to close to 80, right? Depends on which year, what data set you look at. So it's close to 80, 79, 76, and so on. So it's great. It's what medicine has been, helping us for. But the problem is about 20% on average of that 79, long lifespan is full of disease, right? And then it's chronic diseases. It's everyday, diminished quality of life. And also, again, using US data, 32% of the Medicare dollars are going to support the last 2 years of life due to chronic diseases, but very little improvement on the quality of life. It's a failing effort. It's a losing battle. But again, if we do not wait until then, if we do that now, using all this knowledge and technology and tools and effort, I think we can really shorten that, the gap between the lifespan and the health span gap that we experience today. And that's kind of really drives my mission every day. And at GenoPalate, we're definitely at the frontier of delivering the nutritional side using genetics and all. And personally, I just kept, it's kind of my hobby, is looking for what kind of food, drink, or, intermittent or light dietary, regimen, fitness, strength training. For example, I passionately adopted that. I'm still a student to that. But how can I live a disease-free life for longer so that I can be productive for my people? It's fun, but it's complicated,
Sometimes the best things are hard to do, right? If everything is easy, then it undermines the achievement. So it's great that you're taking on these challenges. I could talk to you all day, Sherry, I really could. But unfortunately, we are coming towards the end. So regrettably, I have to say thank you so much for joining us in this podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's fun.
And that was Sherry Zhang, who is founder at GenoPalate.